I think it's about time for a new news roundup video because it's been a while since I have done one and quite a few bits of interesting information have dropped, just nothing substantial enough to warrant a full video on their own for me. Keep in mind a bunch of these are still on the PTR or have been data mined, so as of right now we don't know Blizzard's full intentions with them. I'll mention where this is the case. Anyways, let's make a start. So I do read a lot about the game in my free time, and I've seen time and again that players have taken issue with Arena during this expansion. Lack of comp variety, very high barrier to entry for newer players, and even at lower ratings people play meta comps to the point where it's hard to even gain the rating requirements to be able to afford the deadly gladiator gear. I've just been on the fence about covering it fully in a video since I'm not sure I'm the best person to be making it, not being overly involved in the scene myself. However, on the PTR right now should be a great bit of news for any PvP enjoyer at any level, and that is that Blizzard are testing cross-realm arena queuing. They say, we've implemented a system to allow you to group with players on other realms and queue into arena matches and battlegrounds together. We feel that this is a sensible change considering that arenas have been cross-server since their inception in 2007 and battlegrounds have been cross-realm since shortly after they were introduced back in original World of Warcraft. Another part of the reasoning is that currently the big realms, which are looking at being permanently locked more or less at this point, your Gehennas on Europe, Benediction on North America and so on, are where a large chunk of the PvP population is, and you cannot join those servers as a newer player because again they're locked. This should open up the chance to be able to connect with thousands of more equal skilled teammates across your region and hopefully give Wrath of the Lich King Arena more players overall. Speaking of PvP, as of January 9th, the arena point cost for deadly gladiator gear has been halved and rating requirements removed entirely. Savage and Hateful gladiator gear have had their honor cost reduced, however the emblem cost for all this gear remains unchanged. So overall for PvP, with Season 6 well on its way, it's a good time to gear up and hopefully it will be easier to find new teammates. An unexpected change now, but a welcome one. The orb that allows you to skip straight to Sapphiron and Kel'Thuzad has been added to Naxx. Originally this wasn't done until a later patch, but it's available right now in the live game. Alongside the loot table changes made in Phase 2, this means you can put a group together for Naxx 10 and instantly go for the Sapphiron neck and KT weapons on their 25-man loot table version, which makes it a pretty nice little filler if you're missing anything off in advance of Ulduar. Moving on, we have some nerfs to talk about. First up is the first targeted nerf at the top performing DPS to ever happen in WoW Classic. In Vanilla, warriors got away with being the top DPS forever. In TBC, hunters, warlocks, and even mages had their time to shine. Heading into Wrath of the Lich King, the unholy Death Knight has proven to be far more powerful than anticipated. Many players expected Frost to be the best DK spec early, but the way Blizzard's Wrath of the Lich King works has turned them out a little bit different. The big reason is the unholy Death Knight's end of talent tree ability, Summon Gargoyle, alongside players' knowledge of snapshotting. Snapshotting being using an ability with the most buffs active as you possibly can at one time, and then that ability will continue to benefit from them until the end of its duration, instead of dynamically updating to match the stats of their caster. As mentioned in the blue post, they say it's possible for players to snapshot over 370% haste, over 400% for DKs who are using Trolls Berserking, which reduces the cast time of Gargoyle Strike from 2 seconds all the way down to 0.35 seconds for every cast whilst the Gargoyle is summoned. This little excerpt is more or less a summary of the problem. Gargoyles are going full machine gun mode, and Unholy Death Knights are proving impossibly difficult for anyone else to catch on single target damage. Blizzard also say, however, the current data we have demonstrates that if left untouched, Death Knights stand to scale up significantly more than any other DPS class in the game for the remainder of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. As such, Gary, everyone's favourite Gargoyle, is getting the nerf bat, to where its haste value will now update with the DKs instead of snapshotting. The attack power snapshot will be unchanged though. This change stands to lose Unholy Death Knight several hundred DPS over the course of a fight. The full effects are as yet untested on the live servers, however I think longer fights and less chance to perfectly line up cooldowns would have brought Unholy DK 2k down on the meters by itself, but we'll see how it pans out. Speaking of nerfs, another item that stood to rise in prominence has received a preemptive nerf. This is to flame caps. So these are gathered from Zangarmarsh back in the Burning Crusade. Upon use, they give a chance for attacks to deal a small amount of fire damage, in addition to increasing fire damage for 1 minute. Now previously, if you were min-maxing, you would use these as they were on a separate cooldown from potions. On the PTR, it's currently under testing where their category has been changed to the same as potions, taking them from an optional expensive consumable for min-maxers to essentially useless. You can see the quantity on the auction house and the price change more or less the moment this change was proposed here. Again, it's only on the PTR at the moment, but each of these consumables were around 50 gold each before, and I'm sure there were people sitting on thousands of them ready for Ulduar. I had about 180 of them myself. Sometimes you speculate on an item and sometimes you lose. Changes are happening more often now in Wrath Classic. I'll be more aware of things like this happening in the future. Moving on, remember Emelon the Stormwatcher, the new boss that will spawn inside Vault of Archivon when Ulduar drops? Yeah, I kind of totally forgot about Vault of Archivon if I'm honest, and I might not have been the only one. Whilst Ulduar in Phase 2 will be dropping on January 19th, the latest giant loot pinata to the vault won't be live until the week starting January 23rd. I'd just read this as Emelon is out on regional resets the following week from Phase 2. In any event, you will want to be dragging your guild along for this new boss as he drops Ulduar tier set items as well as high level PvP gear. Another preemptive update has disabled transfer players' ability to receive Realm First titles for 10 days after a move. They did something similar to this back when AQ40 dropped in Classic to stop people moving from a server and disrupting other people's war efforts. It's a good idea, keeps server-specific rivalries intact and between names that are known. New achievements have been data mined for Wrath Classic. First of all are achievements from Season of Mastery, the Soul of Iron, reach level 60 without dying, and even rarer, Survivor of the Firelord, defeat Ragnaros in Season of Mastery without ever having died. Not only are these achievements, but they are also titles. I guess these titles would just be for the seasonal characters though. Blizzard announced a while back they will let Season of Mastery characters transfer to Wrath servers if they wish, and it's not like there's been account-wide achievements or titles in the game so far anyway. There were also new achievements data mined for Ulduar, somewhat similar to how retail works for new raid achievements. These are ahead of the curve Yogg Saron, defeat Yogg in Ulduar 10 or 25 pre-nerf before the release of the next raid tier, and Cutting Edge Ulduar, defeat every hard mode boss in Ulduar on 10 or 25 pre-nerf before the release of the next raid tier. I'm assuming Cutting Edge will need Algalon as well, since you need to have done every hard mode to be able to access him. Also, for an achievement for Cutting Edge, I will say there is a very big difference between Ulduar 10 and 25 man hard modes, but I guess at the end of the day they don't want to separate them out too much. There are no new titles or pets for doing these Ulduar achievements, mind you. It's just something to say, hey, I did this before it was nerfed. I guess it fits with how rewards were handed out in Wrath. Another change to Wrath to deviate from the original game is the fact that meta achievements from Phase 1 will remain available in the game throughout its duration, including the Undying and Immortal titles, as well as the Plagued and Black Proto-Drakes. In original Wrath, these drakes were removed upon the launch of Ulduar, and to this day are extremely rare on retail. This change isn't surprising and more accurately follows the reward structure of later Wrath of the Lich King raids, where mounts from meta achievements were left in the game. So if you didn't get either mount, you can always come back and do it another time. Finally, some data mined subscription rewards, including a mount and a pet. However, like many of the previous rewards, the pet will be for Classic, and it appears as though the mount will be for retail. Again, these are unconfirmed as of yet. In fact, these rewards were teased some time ago as part of a subscription bonus. The Hopling pet should be the one for Classic, and a much more animation heavy mount for the retail version of the game. I think by now we should start to expect subscription rewards. They have been a thing since early TBC after all. And that's all the news roundup for today. Hopefully there was something new in there for you, or that you found something interesting. As always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all on the next one very soon.